Good morning. Good morning, friends, and welcome. Welcome to this public action of prayer, singing, marching, and testimony. Today, in an act of Palestine solidarity and immigrant solidarity, we will declare that God's love knows no borders. On behalf of the Harrisonburg Mennonite Action Coordinating Team, we're glad you're here. Throughout the action, Isaac, where are you, Isaac? We'll be circulating with clipboards, so if you haven't signed up for emails, put your name down. We'd love to be in touch. My name is Emily Hirschberger. I'm a member at Shalom Mennonite congregation here in Harrisonburg. I'm a mother whose 2 children attend school with classmates from all over the world. And I'm a descendant of Swiss Mennonites, immigrants who settled in this land, entangling themselves with the legacy and the dispossession of genocide of indigenous peoples. I come as myself in all that contradiction, all that complexity, and I invite you here as yourselves in all your diversity, joining the Mennonite Action Movement of Mennonites, Christians, and friends of all faiths in the U.S. and Canada who seek to live as active peacemakers, standing in solidarity with those who suffer injustice, dehumanization, and exploitation. We know we can't do this work alone. We need each other, and that's why we organize for collective action. Repeat after me. We come as ourselves.
We come as ourselves.
We stand together.
We stand together.
We keep each other safe.
We keep each other safe.
None of us are free.
None of us are free.
Until all of us are free.
Until all of us are free.
Since November 2024, Mennonite Action has joined with Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, and other Christian coalition partners. We have called for a ceasefire in Gaza, release of Israeli hostages and Palestinian political prisoners, and an end to the illegal U.S. taxpayer-funded military occupation of Palestine, so that all God's children are free. Today, we continue to press those demands. Billions of tax dollars, of U.S. taxpayer dollars and U.S.-made bombs continue to flow to Israel's military with the strong backing of Christian Zionists inside and outside of Congress. Green lighting from the Trump administration is allowing Israel to escalate its attacks on the occupied West Bank and openly call for the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians from Gaza, where 62,000 people have been killed by U.S. bombs, disease, starvation, and displacement. Repeat after me. None of us are free.
None of us are free.
Until all of us are free.
Until all of us are free.
Today we also demonstrate, sing, and pray for an end to unjust detentions and deportations, to the dehumanizing and violent policies being unleashed in our own community toward our immigrant, refugee, and asylum-seeking neighbors. We're deeply troubled to see families in our communities afraid to send their children to school, freely join civic events, seek health care, or attend church. We demand that the Department of Homeland Security reinstate the designation that makes schools, hospitals, churches, and domestic violence shelters off limits to ICE. We remember that Jesus himself was a refugee who fled political repression. None of us are free.
None of us are free.
Until all of us are free.
Until all of us are free.
Today, we also cry out for the release of Mahmoud Khalil, who is detained by Homeland Security agents this week and is being held in ICE detention for organizing pro-Palestine student protests at Columbia University. He is a legal permanent resident. As of this morning, Mennonite Action members, including many of you, have sent 4,000 letters to our congressional leaders calling for his release. None of us are free.
None of us are free.
Until all of us are free.
Until all of us are free.
Khalil's abduction and detention illustrate why Palestine solidarity and immigrant solidarity taken together are so important right now. The land split by the U.S.-Mexico border is patrolled and lined with towers made by the Israeli weapons manufacturer Elbit Systems. The forces oppressing our Palestinian siblings are the same ones at work oppressing our immigrant neighbors in our own communities. But in solidarity and by faith, we can trust that this shared reality of exploitation is also a shared struggle for collective liberation, for a world without walls. We gather today for the sake of that collective liberation. We refuse to turn a blind eye to the violence being committed near and far in the names of Christian Zionism and Christian nationalism. We follow in the example of Jesus, who calls us to love our neighbor as ourselves, who preached good news to the poor, release to the captives, and recovery of sight to all blinded by forces of hatred and oppression. May the Creator of life guide us in this sacred work. None of us are free.
None of us are free.
Until all of us are free.
Until all of us are free.
In a few moments we will sing, and then we will pray with our feet as we march. But first, Anaid Cordova and Miguel Muñiz, members at Shalom Mennonite congregation, will ground us with a Four Directions prayer, and they will say a few words to tell us about this prayer.
Hola, buenos días.
Hello, good morning. We are Miguel Ángel Muñiz Contreras and Anaid Cordova. My husband was born and raised in Mexico, and I came from New York, also from Mexican parents. We belong to a Mexica cultural group.
Lo que vamos a hacer es saludar a los cuatro rumbos, al cielo y a la tierra.
What we will do is greet the four directions, the sky and the earth.
Y esta ceremonia la hacemos al principio de cualquier ceremonia que vamos a tener.
And this is a prayer we do before any ceremony that we participate in.
Es pedir permiso a los cuatro rumbos, a las energías de los cuatro lugares de la tierra.
It's a way to ask for blessings, to ask for permission to the four directions and to the energy of this land.
Y también es pedir permiso a los guardianes de este lugar.
Also a way to ask permission to the guardians of this land.
Como nativos americanos, nosotros promovemos este movimiento cultural para que nuestros jóvenes y nuestros adultos tengan un sentido de identidad propio.
As Native Americans, natives to this continent, we participate and we promote the Mexica movement so that children and adults are able to gain a sense of identity.
Bueno, vamos a empezar, vamos a dirigirnos hacia los cuatro rumbos y si quieren pueden ir con nosotros y levantar su mano derecha en sentido de saludo y también de petición.
So if you would like to join us, we are going to be facing the different directions. You can join us by raising your right hand as a way to pray and ask for blessings.
Inikse, Ashkan, Totlapalolis, Intlahuistlampa Chaneque, Incaliquetzalcoatl, Azotzonali, At, Ejecat, Lali, Let. Mechicatiahui, Inik Ome, Ashkan, Totlapalolis, Inyautzi Huatlampachaneque, Incalishipe Totekutzin, Atzatzonali, At, Ikekat, Lali, Let.
Katiawi. Inik J. Ashkan Totlapalolis in Huistlampachaneque, in Calihuitzilopochtli, Azotzonali, Hat, Ijecat, Lali, Let. Mexicatiawi. Inik Nawi, Ashkan Totlapalolis, in Mictlampachaneque, in Caliyayauqui Tezcatlipoca, Azotzonali, At, Ejecat, Lali, Let. Inik Macuili, Ashkan Totlapalolis, in Icuicachaneque, in Cali Moyocoyani, in Tloquenahuaque, Ipalnemoani, Atzotzonali, At, Ijecat, Lali, Let. Oh, Meteo. Inik Chicuasen, Ashkan, Totlapalolis, Intonantzin, Nonantzin Totlalnantzin, in Calicuatlicue, in Chachihuitlicue, in Huechimalma, At. Ijetcat. Lali. Let.
We're going to invite you guys on a march. It is a rectangle through downtown. Marching 2 blocks this way, coming across the main street, marching 2 blocks back. We're stopping at 2 important stops. The first is the jail. We're going to stop and pray and sing. Then we're going to march down this way, down Main Street, towards City Hall, where we'll stop and pray and sing again.
We won't back down. We're in this till the Feel free to add harmonies. We resist. We refuse to let hatred in. We rise up. We won't back down. Game and let hatred. We rise up. We won't back down. We're in this till the end. Till the end.
One more time.
We resist.
Pray for your enemies. Welcome the stranger.
We rise up.
Show love to your neighbor. We're in this till the end.
Good morning. My name is Ciela Acosta. I stayed with you here outside of the county jail, knowing that county and state police have been working with ICE to detain, imprison, and deport undocumented members of our community, uprooting lives and tearing apart families. The Mennonite Action Movement arose in the face of genocidal violence in Palestine and decades of a violent occupation that has oppressed and displaced generations of Palestinians. Palestine might feel like a world away, but the plight of oppressed neighbors, both here and across the ocean, are related. This became all too clear this past week when Mahmoud Khalil was a U.S. legal permanent resident and student organizer for Palestinian rights, was detained as a targeted act of political repression. We will not stay silent in the face of such repression. Beyond this troubling recent event, we know that in both Israel and the United States, national citizenship systems uphold a racist system of exclusion and deprive certain populations of basic human rights in the name of the law and national security. We reject the idea that there are good immigrants or bad immigrants, and know that idea is often rooted in racism and classism and pits communities against one another.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing this morning? Woo! Yeah, I have my notes here. I'm good, okay? I'm just gonna follow my notes. I am currently in my third year of a Master of Divinity program at Eastern Mennonite Seminary, and I am also an immigrant from Honduras. With a temporary protected status, TPS. Please keep the word protected in mind here, as I will refer back to it later. I am here as a member of Mennonite Action to commemorate the 500th anniversary of the Anabaptist movement, on which I am part. Especially we recognize January 21st, 1525, when Conrad Grebel, one of our forefathers, committed the unthinkable act of baptize others and being baptized himself. From that day on, they were known as Anabaptists and later Mennonites because of Menno Simon, who played a significant role in shaping the theology and practices of Anabaptism. Nonviolence and the separation of church and the state, that's why we trace our roots back to Menno Simon. They stood up for peace, justice, and nonviolence, becoming the voice of those who suffer injustice and oppression. They spoke for those who have no voice. Following the example of that pivotal day, we as members of Mennonite Action are here to stand up for peace and justice for the oppressed, just as our forefathers did. We want to be a voice for those who suffer today. God's love knows no borders. We are not perfect, right? God's love embraces all immigrants, regardless of their origin, where they come from, culture, language, beliefs, or who they love. Yes. Right? Say vamos.
Vamos.
Since God's love is inclusive and supportive, we stand here today. It's important day today as a member of Mennonite Action in this community to welcome all immigrants who make this country their home.
Yes.
Vamos.
Vamos.
Just as I did 20 years ago. On February 14, 1997, I made the decision, and this is coming serious for me, to cross the border. Give me a second.
Glad you're here. Yes. Welcome.
I made the decision to cross the border like many of my brothers and sisters. Yet today, I live in fear of deportation. I don't feel protected. And remember what I asked you before? What did I ask you before?
In mind.
To keep in mind, protected. I want to live free, without fear of deportation, discrimination, violence, or racism. Well, I have had the privilege of calling many places in this country home, and many of you know my story. Harrisonburg has been my residence, my home since 2004. I want to support my immigrant brothers and sisters so they can live without fear and be free in this community. Contribute to the communities. They go to work, they attend the school, go shopping, and go to church like a regular Americans. We do like our regular Americans do in this country. Nevertheless, we have many, I know that many live in fear, which hinders their daily life. I know exactly what they're going through because I am one of them. Fear breeds anxiety, and anxiety interferes with our everyday existence. And I talk by experience because of my background on mental health for 12 years. But today, we stand with them, with our brothers and sisters, immigrants, knowing that God loves and welcomes everyone. Yes. Thank you. Vamos.
So bases. Freedom is coming. Freedom is coming. Freedom is coming. Oh yes, I know. Freedom is coming. Freedom is coming. Freedom is coming, oh yes, I know. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes, I know. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming, freedom is coming, oh yes, I know. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. One foot in front of the other and lead with love. One foot in front of the other and lead with love. And lead with love. One foot in front of the other and lead with love. One foot in front of the other and lead with love. One foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't you give up. Keep moving on. Keep moving on. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead. Repeat after me. Lift up your eyes. Lift up your eyes. Don't you despair. Don't you despair. Look up ahead. Look up ahead. The path is there. The path is there. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love.
gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love.
I know you're scared.
I know you're scared.
Well, I'm scared too.
Well, I'm scared too.
But look at me.
But look at me.
Right next to you.
Right next to you.
You gotta
Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with
Last
love.
time you gotta put
One foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love.
Hello, my name is Tim Godshaw. We gather here outside of City Hall and remember and celebrate the courageous decision that our City Council made to pass a ceasefire resolution in Harrisonburg. We see and affirm that Harrisonburg City Police have refused to cooperate with ICE. We give thanks for the moments when those with power use it for the sake of the most vulnerable. And yet, so many continue to be made vulnerable by violence and injustice. Our hearts are broken and we are deeply distraught by the ongoing horrific suffering we are witnessing daily in Gaza and the West Bank. We are compelled to act, both as fellow human beings and also as Mennonites and Christians. Our faith teaches us that God's love is made manifest through taking action for justice, and that following Christ means standing with those who suffer. The ceasefire between Hamas and Israel hasn't stopped Israel from striking central and southern Gaza in violation of the agreement. It hasn't ended the illegal military occupation of Palestine, the bombardment of Jenin, nor the calls from Israeli leaders and President Trump for the ethnic cleansing of Gaza and the West Bank. The ceasefire hasn't stopped the flow of weapons and military aid from the U.S. to Israel. We must continue to courageously speak and take action. We must continue to call our elected officials to join us in bold speech and action. We are inspired by our Palestinian, Jewish, Arab, and Muslim allies who have been in the streets for months, putting their bodies on the front lines to protest our government's waging war in their name. We are steadfast in our solidarity with our Palestinian friends, families, and loved ones. As they deal with the unthinkable pain and suffering, we stand with them arm in arm, unrelenting in our commitment to work for peace. We hold dear and listen to both Palestinian and Israeli peacemakers in their calls for a just peace. We urge peace. We ask our leaders to send aid, not bombs. Now we'll hear from Nadia Damas, a local leader and Palestinian American who's been an active contributor to Mennonite Actions events and was part of the movement that helped propel the City Council's resolution forward.
Thank you all. I'm Nadia Damas. I'm honored to share this space with all of you. And if it weren't for all of you, we wouldn't have that resolution here in Harrisonburg from City Council. And we were the first city in Virginia to pass that resolution. So it was because of you all here and the 200 signatures. Happy Ramadan as well. Last Ramadan, I was walking with you for 11 miles around Harrisonburg in solidarity, and I appreciate you all for that. My parents immigrated from Jerusalem to the United States, and in the late 70s migrated here to Harrisonburg, Virginia, where they were welcomed with open arms from the Mennonite community. And I want to let ICE know you will never be welcome in Harrisonburg, Virginia. I was born in Kieseltown. At the time, My dad's business was a little slow. We couldn't really make ends meet. And if it weren't for my neighbors in Kieseltown, my mom wouldn't have had the crib for me. She wouldn't have had the clothes or the necessities that she needed. And I reflect back on that and think of the strength of our neighbors then and how much that meant to me and my family. I went to Kieseltown Elementary, and back then I think I was the diversity. It was me and 2 black students, who I still remember their names, and that was it. But I still felt welcome, although as a Palestinian, I felt invisible. And as I stand before you here today, I don't feel invisible. I feel visible. And I appreciate that because it is, again, from all of you.
You want your songs out for this next one? None can stop the spirit burning now inside us. We will shape the future, and we will not be silent. How can we be silent? Here we go. Da, da, da. How can we be silent when we know our God is near, bringing light to those in shadows, to the worthless, endless worth? How can we be silent when we know the voice of Christ, speaking justice to the nations, breathing love to all the earth? None can stop the Spirit burning now inside us. We will shape the future. We will not be silent. How can we be silent when our God has conquered death, stretching out his arms to suffer so that we might have new life? How can we be silent when we know that Jesus rose and will come again in glory, ending suffering and strife? None can stop the Spirit burning now inside us. We will shape the future. We will not be silent. How can we be silent as we turn our eyes away and ignore the poor and broken who lie bleeding in the street? How can we be silent when we're called to heal and serve in the image of Lord Jesus, who has come to wash our feet? None can stop the Spirit burning now inside us. We will shape the future. We will not be silent.